What is up, Drama Alert Nation? I'm Killer Keemstar. Let's get right into the news.
Oh no. No, it was good. Welcome, guys, to episode 25 of the Roast Podcast. We've started this podcast about 30 times. We started it in the last podcast, this episode, but I didn't realise the camera wasn't recording.
Started in the last podcast that I vetoed.
We've had so many issues with audio today and cameras stopping and starting.
Get this one working.
Yeah, we need it. We just need a better setup.
Proper camera, and then we'll be good. Because you'll be able to have something here, you'll be able to have that there, and then we won't have to do this.
Yeah, we won't. This might be a different podcast, I reckon. This might be like the presets one where we talked about the My People one for like 10 minutes and then that was it.
Oh, yeah.
Like a mini roast podcast.
A short, yeah.
A little roast podcast.
Takeaway roast.
A takeaway roast.
You know how you can go to the supermarkets and get the little roasts from the...
I didn't know that was what you meant, the little takeaway.
Takeaway roast.
This isn't home cooked, this is takeaway from salt. I like those ones, they taste good.
They are actually really good. Like... The pork ones you can get, they are actually so good.
The next mini roast podcast, we'll just be eating that while we're doing it.
We'll do a mukbang.
This is actually a good setup for a mukbang.
Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna be a mukbang.
Hey guys, this is Ronald McDonald here, and we're gonna do a mukbang with dinner boxes. Oh Jesus Christ!
I hate that.
It's Ronald McDonald.
Honestly though.
Oh God.
If there's, I've got two topics that have just come off that conversation.
Yes.
How mukbangs are one of the worst kinds of content you can make.
Mukbang with Ronald McDonald. Yeah. Yeah. Continue.
And how. I don't know.
So embarrassing. What am I doing?
One of my controversial opinions is that chicken is a low tier meat if you have to have it flat. If you don't have it with anything, and it's just a roast chicken, just like a plain roast chicken,
it's low tier.
It's a low tier compared to something like pork or beef
I agree.
Or lamb.
Because it tastes like chicken. It's like it doesn't
have its own flavor really.
No.
Like if you just have if you were just given a thing of white meat, the back of the chicken, right? Yeah. Where it's just flesh. You could have that, or you could have like a comparable cut from a cow, which is a steak.
Yeah. And
it's like
vegans won't like this episode.
No, but it's like I'm constantly. Mum and Dad love just like a roast chicken, and I'll eat it because it's still good.
But you're just
I still like it.
Sick of it.
It's just lamb and pork and beef are superior in every single way.
The gold of that HSP, just with those sauces and the lamb, just
and also like gold. You're not fighting all the bones because you get a chicken. It's so small that you can just buy the whole chicken, right? When you get a thing of lamb, because the lamb is so big, you can only reasonably buy the leg or like a rib bit. So the most you'd ever really get off of like a prime cut, an actual cut that they'd sell at like a supermarket butcher. If you went to like your local butcher or something, you might be able to get a more sort of niche bit. Or if you went to a wholesale butcher where they actually just get the whole animal and cut it in front of you, you could ask for any bit of the animal you want and you'd probably get it. You could ask for like a weird spine bit and they'd give it to you. But like because you're getting the whole chicken, you have to fight all the little bones, and they have little bones in them, and you're just like, fuck these little bones. I can't stand them. Because the worst bit is like we buy like these wing bits, these like roast wings. The wings are the worst part.
The wings, they don't have any meat on them.
No, they don't.
Skin.
And then it's skin, and there's a little bit of meat like where it goes in under here. And then there's like this gnarled bit that runs down the back that I'm absolutely 100% certain is like a spine. And I'm just like, why the fuck would you give me the spine?
Yeah,
I don't want to eat that. Like if there's like a sauce or like a marinade on it, that makes it infinitely better. But if it's just that, and you're meant to get the extra flavour out of like a side salad or something to go with it.
I agree.
Flat roast chicken.
Thumbs down.
Not optimal. Flat roast pork. Ooh,
so good.
Flat
Juicy,
roast beef.
salty.
Delicious. Flat roast lamb. Let's go.
So you and I are meat eaters. Like, we like the meat.
I love meat.
I don't think I could ever give up meat, even though I know what happens, to the animals and how they get killed and everything. I don't care. I just want it.
I know what happens to animals, and I know
that's bad.
that it can be pretty brutal. But for the most part, they have tried to make the process as painless and as seamless as possible.
Yeah, as humane
And it's not like we're just hacking away at them with axes and shit.
No.
And then ripping them apart with our bare hands. We use precision tools, precision instruments that are cleaned and sanitized every single time.
But your dad told me a story about how he went to Egypt and he saw like the animals being ripped apart by the people on the fucking markets, and the blood of the animals is in a stream.
Well, those are like, I don't remember that story. He may have told that to you, but not me.
He told it to all of us at the dinner table one night.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I just don't remember it.
I'd be confronting to see that.
But I don't know. It's really good.
It's just good.
I think it's really good.
The lamb from the HSP, the really tough bits, like the bits on the outside of the lamb,
where it's had the most sort of grilling.
Yeah.
And it gets a bit tougher.
Oh,
those are the bits.
Goodness, with the chips. Can we just go get it now?
You're making me hungry again. Next time you come down, we're having a HSP.
Oh, it's just be so good. I don't want to do a mukbang of the HSP because then I'll watch it. I'll watch it back and then I'll just be like,
I can never enjoy a HSP again. You don't have a mukbang
of something you like. Yeah.
Of something you like. You have mukbangs of shit that you just either like sort of normally that you'll eat but you don't particularly enjoy,
nuggets,
or just like shit that you don't really care for. So you do like the McNuggets and the chips and stuff because it's just food. You don't really you don't put any real preparation into it,
Oops. Yeah.
But with the fucking HSP, nah.
HSP is
if it was like a shit HSP, from like a fast food joint.
That's what I was about to talk about.
But this is a proper, like, an actual restaurant. It does takeaway and eat in. It's far more geared to a takeaway, but it is a proper restaurant.
It
does do, like, you can tell that they've put effort into it.
HSP, I feel like, is synonymous as food that you eat when you're really drunk and you've had a big night and you just want something garbage covered in grease and not really that good for you. I think that's what HSP is.
It's a comfort food.
Yeah, I think that's what it's known as, usually in the city, of people that go clubbing and people that go to bar hopping and get really drunk. That's usually what happens when, with HSP. But for me, my experience is the one at near your house where it's just premium cut lamb, the perfect lamb on a rotisserie,
above
that flame, and then they make their chips with that ridiculously good salt. I don't know how they make salt that good.
They do.
And then they add the specials kinds of sauces. There's that oily sauce, and then there's that barbecue sauce.
And without barbecue sauce, a sweet chili sauce, and a garlic sauce.
Without that barbecue sauce, it doesn't. That's just the pièce de résistance on top of that amazing salt and just.
I get them to take off the chili and the barbecue one. I usually leave the garlic because the garlic's really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not super big on the chili one. I think they have 2 levels of chili. They've got like a really strong chili one and like a mild sweet chili one. The sweet chili one is good. I'll have that if it's on it. But like the hot chili one gets me.
I gave you that by accident once, didn't I?
I think you did.
I gave it to my friend.
I've had it a few times on accident as well.
It's fine. It's not.
It's fine. It's not super bad, but I'm just really sensitive to that kind of heat.
Yeah.
And it gets me sweating super, super quickly. But yeah, it's just.
I love hot foods.
That HSP is so good. Like it's just
come to Melbourne.
The fact that it's not done with.
Bearwood shops.
Like, there's 2 HSP joints that are close to my house, right? There's that one that does their meat sidelong on the rotisserie, and it's above a flame grill,
The one we
that
know?
they actually stoke with like proper. I think they either use proper charcoal, or like proper firewood.
Yeah.
But they keep it strong, and they clean it constantly, and they're constantly restocking it, and it's delicious as fuck.
It's the goodness.
It's so good. And they're not stingy with the helpings. Sure, it may have gotten a bit more expensive recently.
Did it?
Well, yeah, don't you remember there was one time where it was $12 and then when we went and it was 15?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that
they-
was... For the large or for the small?
That was for the large one.
Oh, yeah. They did that really sneakily. I noticed.
That one came in sneaky.
Because that was only $12 for like the first month of me having it, and then it went to 15. So I don't really notice. You did though.
But yeah, they're not stingy with the helpings either. They load the fucking box with chips and the meat.
You have to be so hungry to finish
You
one
do.
of those.
The small one you can get away with.
The small one's
The
fine.
big one, you definitely have to forego lunch or something.
I used to get up for tape because it started at 10 when I was eating the HSP on that Wednesday. This is my routine to a T. Got up at 10, had this tiny piece of toast because I knew I needed something to get me through the
start
morning.
off, yeah.
But I knew if I had any more than a tiny piece of toast, there was a 0% chance of me finishing that HSP. There was this one day where I had the tiny piece of toast. I went back and I had the large HSP, ate it all up, enjoyed it. I was hungry enough, just hungry enough for it. And then your auntie made dinner, and I felt bad.
yeah.
And I ate the entire bowl of dinner, and I felt like I was about to need my stomach pumped. That was the most I've ever eaten in my life. I reckon.
I do remember that.
That was bad. I was just struggling to finish it. I remember after my stomach was just so sore. I think I've got a mark, actually. I swear after that, I got this mark on my stomach here. I think that's what it's from. Honestly, I don't know. It probably isn't. But that was a big eating day.
That was a big eating day for you. I was surprised you actually managed to make it.
I think all the McDonald's I had McDonald's 3 days a week back when I was living at yours. And TAFE, I had the HSP included. No, I had McDonald's sometimes 4 days a week. So I was a big boy.
You were a big boy, yes.
And then it took me a long time to become a small boy again.
But yeah, it's just... And then
Crazy.
There's another
Crazy
joint.
good.
There's another joint that's just like this shit... Fucking... This little caravan or something. You've probably seen it.
Oh, I've had that before.
Bambinos.
Oh, that's so fucking bad.
And it's not like... The one that we get, the good HSP is like this... It's like individual slices of meat that are put on the thing. This one is just a chunk of... It's called pressed meat, and it's basically everything been pummeled down really fine and then squashed together into like a lump.
That's most HSP places though. That's what
If you find one that does that,
Yeah.
unless they do some kind of incredible sauce with it or really good chips,
ditch it.
avoid it. But if you find a place that does actual like meat slices with like a proper rotisserie, generally they are a cut above the other ones. But this place does them, and you can just see them going in the background, and you're like, why would I go here when I could go down the road about a kilometre or two?
Yeah, and get the
get
goodness.
A superior one for like $5 more.
We were
And one that's twice the size as well. They are so stingy with
just-
that
I hate
size
it.
at that place.
The cost is way more for the price.
It's foul.
My mates and I were standing in line for 2.5 hours waiting at the club, and we were thinking about running across the road, getting a HSP, and then running back. And we looked at the reviews of this place that was across the road. It was like King Bubba's or something. I don't know what it was called. And we looked at the reviews, and someone wrote, we couldn't stop laughing. We just died of laughter. Someone wrote, sweaty workers sweating on food, sweaty food, sweaty fork. We just died.
Just everything sweaty. No. Oh, that's so fucked.
And then after the club, we got out of the club at like 3:30 in the morning, and we were all sweaty. And then we stood over the food, and it's
Sweaty food.
it's just sweaty everything.
Workers, everything's sweaty.
Oh, sweaty.
Sweat lords.
It's so funny. Oh my god. Someone's.
It's just so fucked.
When they make crap HSPs, it's just not allowed.
HSP should be punishable, honestly.
By death, yeah. I mean,
at least by some kind of fine.
Would you want to just enforce that with Dandrews?
The HSP...
the Melbourne HSP law passed 2021.
Yeah, because, you know, I think it's because it's got the meat, so you get that, like, salt protein hit, right? When you're drunk and you need some kind of comfort food or whatever.
Perfect.
But then it's also got all of the carbohydrates from the chips, which is kind of like bread, which is, like, honestly the best at sopping up, like, sort of filling, you know, because
it's the worst for alcohol, bread alone, but bread with
alone,
other stuff.
With other stuff?
Perfect.
Apparently that's really good.
See, HSP is the best when you smash, but I would never have your HSP when you smash, because that would just be a waste.
You got to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
You'd have like a mediocre one.
Yeah.
Just to fill the space.
Yeah.
Not a shit one, because then you have to endure a shit one. But like you'd have a middling to mediocre one, and then you save the really good ones, like this place, for when you're sober and you can enjoy it and, you know, actually savor it instead of trying to get it into you, I suppose.
I just thought that's like literally the perfect food to eat before you go out for a big night. The one near your house. That would be awesome. Us both are at your place eating that, and then we go into the city and meet my mates, and then we go bar hopping or something. That'd just be perfect. It's just the best. It'd be great. Bar hopping seems awesome because you start at one bar and then you have a little bit, you have a couple of drinks, then you go to the next bar and you have another drink. And every time you travel from one bar to the other, you're just a little bit more drunk. And by the time you're traveling from like the 8th bar to the 9th bar, you're just like fucking stumbling.
Or are those just for clubs?
Clubs? No, we didn't book when we went to the club recently. We just rocked up. That's why we were waiting 2.5 hours, because we rocked up on the opening time. We rocked up late because James had work and everything.
Oof, yeah.
That was a big rip. Because, you don't want to rock up late for a club, but, yeah. Like, might just...
Every time I ask, one of my colleagues at work, got any plans for the weekend?
Yeah.
And they say, going to clubs tonight, going to a bar, go for a drink. I'm just like, fair enough. I don't know. I just don't... It's not for me. It's not my scene.
Neither.
I'm
Clubs
definitely more for going
scene.
Definitely more for just going home. I don't know. I just have a low social battery. That's my theory. I read it somewhere that introverts, right, like myself, have a low social battery. So I've sort of been going on that theory, and it's like every morning when you wake up, or you've recharged a certain amount of this social battery, and that's the amount of social interaction you can reliably sustain before you just conk out and start, becoming irritable, becoming antisocial, becoming sort of drawing back in, and it's like, becoming tired of it.
So you couldn't do 5 days in a row of just friends every day non-stop?
If it was the right people, then
yeah.
Because, every certain person has a different amount of social batteries.
I agree. The right people for that many days in a row is fine.
Yeah, like having you over was fine for 5 days or whatever, pretty much, because, we get along. But, like...
Thank you.
Like, in circumstances like this, I went to work, right, and it was a quiet day, so I didn't sort of deplete too much. It was mainly physical. But that's why I'm sort of able to come here and not just completely go, I don't really want to be here. I want to go home and sleep and play video games and stuff. But if it was a long day where I had to deal with fucking cabbies or, bad drivers, people who, think the world revolves around them, I'd be a lot less inclined to want to do something afterwards, because I've spent all of this social battery on dealing with these people. And it's the same thing. If you have a nice conversation with someone on the street or whatever, you'd be like, yep. And that only takes away a little bit of the battery. Wow. But if someone is nasty and you have to deal with it, like if you're, working a service job, like
Porsche guy.
If you're, yeah, exactly. Like if you're working the cashier at Macca's or whatever, someone nice comes in.
Ennui, yeah.
With say her 2 kids and they want to get some, what's it called? Some ice cream cones. They're well behaved. They stand where they need to stand, and they say thank you, and they're pleasant. You think that's really good, and it only takes a little bit to deal with them. And then you get the fucking crackhead who comes in, starts getting mad and making demands and throwing his fucking weight around, and you have to deal with that because you're the customer service person. You have to deal with the person. It takes a lot more of the battery because you're having to expend more effort on this person.
I see.
So introverts, they still enjoy social interaction with the right people when they have enough battery to deal with these people.
So it's just a different kind of scale of how you operate.
Yeah.
If it's a bunch of different people and it's like you're meeting people for the first time, that
takes a lot more.
Yeah, that's interesting
because you can't be as free with them. Like if I was to meet, I don't know, one of your mates, it would take a lot more for me to interact with them because I don't know really anything about them. Yeah. I don't know what they would like, what they find acceptable, or whatever, and what they like. I can readily call you a shitter because it's a joke, and we get along enough to know that we can sort of insult one another in that
since
way.
I was born, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we know each other enough to know that when we insult one another like that, it's playful, it's banter, But if I was to meet one of your mates and just immediately call him a shitter,
it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work at all.
No,
because you don't understand. You don't know anything about the person, and you don't know what they find acceptable, what they like, what they don't like, what things they look out for, what things they're wary about, all that kind of stuff. And that's part of this overall theory that I've sort of constructed based on what
I like you constructing theories like this because it helps people to know what you're all about as well, I reckon. Because I reckon I'm the complete opposite person to you, probably.
Yeah, you
in that regard.
You have a high social battery, a big one, because you're able to deal with a lot more people a lot more readily.
Extroverted, genetically. Yep. My parents are extroverted. Your parents are probably more introverted, so it's probably where we get it from.
And it's like, so comparably, I have a small social battery compared to yours, but that's sort of, it's relative because I don't do as much with it. I can sort of eke it out over the same time if we were to see how long it would expend each of our things, just doing our normal day-to-day whatever. If we were to spend a week in our normal lives to see who would expend theirs the most, it would probably be very, very even though we've got different capacities. Because my day-to-day is, go to work, deal with the people. That's a pretty big drain because I'm dealing with a lot of new people a lot of the time. Some of them aren't the most sociable or whatever. And then... but then I get to go home and do what I enjoy, which is like play video games and just kind of not do a whole lot. So for a brief period, it's pretty intense, and then it completely drops out, and I'm not draining at all because I'm basically on my own. But you're more sociable with other people, so you'd be more talking to other people online or something, or calling or whatever, and then you'd be going out to the bars or the clubs, or going to parties with mates, and so yours is very steadily draining slowly. It's not a big jump like mine would do during the day, but it's just slowly going down.
And there's nothing wrong with
there's nothing wrong at all. It's just a way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's a way to
gauge it with us.
Figure it out, to put it like an example to it, like a representation, a symbolic representation to it.
Because I reckon I tapped on about 150 plus people's shoulders at the club the other night to get them to move out of the way so I could get to my friends. And there were about 3 of the 150 pushed me as hard as they could because they were pissed off. And I turned around and just death stared at them. I was like, fuck off from this fucking place. And they're the odds. That's the odds game of like... And that scared the shit out of me. It's just like, it depends who you are if you're willing to like... tap some random person and get them to move, or like, you know, give them gestures and just do this. I had to keep doing that all the time just so people were like, oh, he's cool. And even then people were just like, whatever. So it's like, it takes, I can see what you mean. Like some people, if you're introverted, that would be incredibly tough to do, because it's just that fear of like people just turning around and just having like a go, having a massive go. And you might not know, and not that you might not know how to handle it, you just might not want to handle it.
The last thing you want to be doing when you're out having a good time
is stopping someone from touching
stop and basically brawl with someone.
No, that's terrible. That's
almost if you want to have a brawl with someone, you go to like a boxing club or an MMA club or something. You don't go to the bar.
No.
But like, so in that situation, you are more able to deal with that, or you're better equipped to deal with that. So your social battery takes a much far less significant hit. But if I were to do that, so if I were to be the one, if someone shoved me and I were to whip around to them, I would have taken a far more significant hit because I'm less equipped to deal with that. I don't quite understand how to do it.
You say so, yeah.
Or whatever. You probably experience it more, so you're more like...
It's just, I think it's something I wasn't as good at doing that until I went out and just saw a bunch of people. Like, that's something that, believe it or not, that scares the shit out of me, just like talking to someone. Like the other night, 2 weeks ago, there's this guy, my mate's stepbrother. He's told me so many stories about him. I've only met him once, and it was very brief at his house. He's told me all these stories about him, his drug bust, how he's like the drug kingpin of the peninsula, how he does all this crazy shit. I can't say his name. Oh fuck, I think I've gone too far already. Anyway.
Oh no.
How he just like gets with all these girls, how he's like the top echelon of like
the
popular people. Yeah, the top dog in the peninsula. And he's my mate's stepbrother. And I went up to him and I tapped it. This took a lot of this took a lot of social
hit.
battery.
I wouldn't have been able to do
huge
it,
hit.
probably.
I wasn't going to do it. I was too scared. But I had a few drinks down me and I thought, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I went up to him, tapped him on the shoulder. He turns around and I'm just like, I better fucking get this out of my system quick and tell him that he's my mate, is his stepbrother, or else I'm fucking gone. I go, hey, dude, I was meant to go on with you on the boat the other day. I'm Alex William. Whoops. I'll cut that out.
No.
I'm Alex's mate. And he's just like, oh! And I was like, thank fucking Jesus. 2 hours later, he's like, dude, if you hadn't have said that to me, I would have knocked you out then and there. I was just like, fuck. He's about this much taller than you, and he's a fucking unit. And then my mate Benny's about this much taller than you, and he's a fucking unit. And if you were at the club with those guys and my mate Bert standing around me, because they're all standing around me, and it's like a little kid. I felt like a little kid looking up at
you're the
grown-ups
little kid
when I was just little. It was weird. And then I got up on like the bench seat like this and stood on top of that. And everyone was just like, to get on the same level, and they all just laughed because I was finally like taller than them.
Yeah.
That took a lot of fucking strength. That was hard to do. I think you could do it. It's like, I think it's a muscle you got to build. I don't think.
Exactly.
I think it's all mental. I don't think it's something that's just set in stone.
No,
social bad. I think it's just a muscle you got to grow over the years.
That was another thing. As I was going to say, as I've started this job and had to, interact with people a lot more.
You reckon it's stronger?
It's definitely grown, and it'll fluctuate over your life depending on what you want to do or how you want to go about things. Like during, what's it called? As I went into high school or whatever, it's always been low for whatever reason, one reason or another, but it's been enough to sort of sustain a few good friends and a few sort of side friends as well, just get along with most people, but there was then as I went into high school, it kind of grew a bit more as I gained a few more friends, and then it kind of depleted a lot towards the end of year 12, and I think it was at its smallest, or its like weakest, at around year 12.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Because I remember when I saw you first time, like living at your house, I remember how like subdued. You are like, hello. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You're like not sure what to say, and then it kind of like got talking, and we were just chill by like after a week of me living there. But yeah, sorry, continue.
And that was, that was another thing. Like having someone else come in and live in the house was another sort of trial, because that's like the house is my sort of safe area.
Yeah.
So having someone there and having to be on guard a bit more often is like, ooh, what do I have to do to, can't be as free or open. And then I realised that I could be as free and open as I wanted, because...
And you realised he's not a shithead. I'm not a piece of shit.
Exactly. And it was like... And then I started going to TAFE and made friends there, and it was like... Is someone coming?
We have people about to enter. I think you're going to have to be booted out of here. Sorry, mid-conversation. Oh, maybe they're just up there. Keep going.
Yeah, no, it's all right. And then, so as I started TAFE and got my mates there, the battery grew and grew and grew. And then it kind of reached like a limit there. And then over COVID, it just went...
Aww.
And I'm like, I could hardly deal with people over mic or whatever.
Wow.
Like dealing, like...
Me too.
Yeah, like I could hardly even have a conversation with people over the mic. Like talking with you was fine.
My mates called me an idiot when I didn't know how to play Among Us. They were like, you fucking idiot, over mic. And I hadn't spoken to them in months. And one of them that called me a fucking idiot, I'm not friends with anymore, or is in the friendship group. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was so angry. Like, I wanted to break shit after I got off the call. I was like, I left the call. It's the weirdest I've ever been socially. I just was just like, fuck off. I just left.
Everyone's social battery took a big hit.
Mine took exactly. Yeah, mine took a hit.
I think it definitely hit. That was one of those weird instances where it hits the introverts a lot less than it hits the extroverts.
I reckon.
Like for most deals, it hits the introverts a lot harder when you're having to deal with other people, because it's it's social. It's a social battery, and introverts aren't the most social people.
Here they come. So you were already expecting
isolation. I constantly made jokes to Lockie and Dad. I was like, I've trained for this my entire life. You'll be right. Through isolation, and it even hit me, and I basically did nothing after coming home from school and stuff. Damn. Except for play video games. So I was basically already on my groove. Didn't change much for me.
I thought I'd been training for it as well until I was like a few months went by, and I was like, oh shit, I can't do this anymore.
No, I didn't think you'd be able to make it too much, because you're definitely more of the social person than I. You would have definitely suffered a lot more.
You get through it.
If you'd been going to uni or TAFE during it, I reckon you would have been hit a lot harder.
I would have ditched uni or TAFE if I had to do online learning.
Yeah.
I think this is where we cut it, because we're about to get interrupted.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You still want to talk?
Yeah, I was.
Adam was on a roll.
Yeah, I was on a roll.
He was going through the many phases of the social battery. Yeah. Maybe we can still keep going until they barge in.
So it's like, for the introverts, they were pretty much fine, because they were doing basically what they were always been doing, which is staying inside and keeping to themselves mainly. The extroverts, this is one of those rare instances where the extroverts got hit the hardest out of the thing. So when the introverts dropped, the extroverts were just like, because all of a sudden they weren't able to receive. You have to get
attention
for the social battery to be like worthwhile. You have to get a certain amount of worthwhile, like you have to get a certain value out of the expenditure, and extroverts get a far greater value out of the expenditure than introverts do.
I think this is a genuine theory. I think you've just summarized it perfectly.
Like, you get a lot more enjoyment out of going out to the club than I do, which is why I don't
I had to be dragged out there, but yeah.
Like most times, or like having a big party. Like most times I'll be like, big party, and I'll seriously, like most of the time I'll be like, yeah, I'm all good for it. But I will usually seriously consider saying something, or like being like, do I really want to go? I always go through that period of, do I really want to go? I could just.
I have the best way of figuring this out, actually. Yeah. Really briefly, sorry, hold that thought. if someone called you they were a minute away from your house and they're like, I'm picking you up, let's go do something, would you just be like, yes, straight away? Or would you be like, would you like think, shit, what do I say?
I'd probably say shit. I'd probably think shit.
It depends on the person, but if my mate Daniel...
It depends on the person.
My mate Daniel does that often. He'll call me, especially out of summer, he'll call me a minute and he'll be like, hey, I'm driving past your house, let's go do something. I will just be like, instantly, because I know it's Daniel, but yeah, coming out. It's hard though, like the first time he did that, I was like, you got to get used to the person. But yeah, sorry, your train of thought, I interrupted rudely.
That's a good point. There are points where the expenditure is definitely worth the value. Like, I've recently joined a clan in one of my games, and that requires, talking over the mic.
Yeah.
So that's an expenditure of the social battery, but I find a good bit of value in it because it's usually regarding a topic that I enjoy, which is the game. So I get a good bit of value out of that compared to just, making small talk with random people, or being forced to interact with someone that I don't quite want to interact with at the time or whatever. So that'll be a bigger hit. But yeah, during COVID I definitely sort of depleted it, but now going back to
talking to me, you were fine.
Talking to you, I was fine because I find a good bit of value in talking to you.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Me too, talking to you as well.
So that's like, I can feel good about expending that energy in the battery because I get good value out of it. But like going out to, some people have just, that's possibly another thing for, like, if you're finding that you're anxious about talking to people, you could say you've got such a incredibly low value to your thing, or it's such a tiny social battery that you just can't deal with talking to people. Of course, there's always going to be people that people do feel comfortable talking to. Like, if you may have crippling anxiety talking to strangers, but you can be animated and, exciting talking to family members or a partner,
I've got a lot of mates like that, where they're so animated talking to someone they really know, like my mate Cooper, but when it's a stranger, he's just like frozen stiff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like that as well. But that's one of the things that I've gained doing my job as a concierge, being able to talk to random people, having to initiate the conversation. That's one of the big things that will determine my value in a given interaction, is whether or not I have to initiate it. If I have to initiate it, if it's with most people, if I have to initiate it, then the effort quadruples. I have to expend so much more effort because I'm the one that has to put the drive in initially. I'm the one that has to drive the conversation. But if someone else initiates it for me, then I'm able to go along with their flow, and it's a lot simpler for me. A lot less effort is used. But having to, be able to make small conversation with people going through has given me a far greater ability to actually initiate a conversation or make a conversation flow. And I'm not perfect at it. Of course, I'm not some kind of conversationalist genius. I'm not going to be doing TED Talks or anything anytime soon.
I reckon you could do a good TED Talk.
On this, if I really flesh this theory out, I could find some,
case studies,
peer-reviewed studies or something.
Dad's trying to call me, damn it.
Fuck, give it a few seconds. I could possibly make a really good theory out of this. You can go and answer it.
Oh, no, it'll wreck our audio. It'll destroy it. Alright, well, I guess that's... We're using camera audio. You can keep going.
Yeah, no, it's alright. I'll just... But yeah, if it's... I'm on solo shot now. But yeah, if it's... I'm having to leave. I can't stay. But yes, if you want to hear more about the social battery theory, look it up, because I'm pretty sure I found things about it on Reddit or what's it called? yeah, I'm supposed to be going right now. Unfortunately.
Did you get to the end of your theory?
I had to cut it short. But I did say look it up because it's not my theory. Just piecing it together now.
Next podcast we'll be able to do more, hopefully.
Yeah, and I'll hopefully have come up with a few more ideas and
you got banished
on it. Yeah.
Oh no! just completely interrupted mid train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's alright. I'll come up with some.
Your folks are saying they're gonna head off. So
a thesis on the topic.
Oh, awesome! Write a freaking full. In fact, what you just said could be put into transcript, and
I reckon it's
hit the nail on the head.
Valuable theory, the social battery.
It's good shit. I'm very.
Because it does kind of put into
Keen, you said in the podcast.
an explanation, like a sort of layman explanation of this whole sort of dynamic. Of course, it doesn't have an explanation for everything, like, romance or whatever in social interaction. It's just a broad term for social interaction. And of course, I say you can get...
Cheers for watching, guys.
Thanks.
Goodbye.